Hey guys, what's going on? It's Lando from the Snap Fantasy Football Podcast. Welcome to our playoff series. This is a very important episode. These are guys about to bust out. No, these are guys that are busted on your team. If you have questions about any start sits, waivers, ads going into your playoffs, the most important time of the year, drop it in the comments below. We will get back to you. If you even have questions about the Monday night game, if you're watching this in time, drop it in the comments. We can help you out. It matters if it's a half PPR, if you're down, if you're up, if you're projected to win, projected to lose. All that stuff matters. Doesn't matter when you're watching this video. Drop it in the comments and we could answer any question you might have. Now, if you've made it through to the playoffs and you have one of these guys, maybe you've lost, but maybe you squeaked out a win. And you need to know if you're willing to start them or sit them and what to do going forward. Some of the guys I'm talking about: Devante Parker, DJ Chark, Chris Godwin, Terry McLaurin, and Tyler Lockett. Wide receivers that have really busted your team, but you still have them. Maybe you won, maybe not. And what to do with them going forward. If you have other questions about guys that didn't work out or guys that boomed in week 14, that you should really wonder if you should start them, sit them, what to do with them, trust them. It's really hard to trust a guy that came out of nowhere. Drop it in the comments and we can let you know. We also do a live start set every single Sunday, 2 hours before game time. But without further ado, let me talk about this. Devante Parker, the number one, he put up a big ol' 0, a donut for your fantasy team, but he was hurt. He had a leg injury. He had 2 targets, both of which were in the end zone, or at least one of them for sure was in the end zone. And he could have had his hand on it, but missed it. That was one thing I liked about Devante Parker, is that they always gave him a few chances at those goal line, red zone, end zone looks. Now, what I've said many times before, and you know it, is that he is much better with Ryan Fitzpatrick than he is with Tua Tagovailoa. Now, we'll monitor his questionable status and his leg injury all year round. But going up against New England next week, I am not trusting Devante Parker going forward, especially when he's banged up, unless we hear something completely different and maybe Fitzpatrick is back in at quarterback. But if it remains to me Tua, I am not starting Devante Parker. He's going on my bench. Next, we have DJ Chark. DJ Chark had 9 targets, only 2 receptions for 16 yards. Crazy, having 9 targets and not producing on those 9 targets. He's been super disappointing. He hasn't put up a good week in fantasy since week 9, and that's when he put up 27 or 20 fantasy points for your roster. So DJ Chark has been ultra frustrating. This is a guy that we profiled in the offseason of a boom-bust player. I said to not draft him, and then I got caught in the trap, and I drafted DJ Chark, and he has been very much a disappointment for me. But going forward, he's got Dallas and Chicago coming up. I am not starting DJ Chark if I can help it. Now, Gardner Minshew is in at quarterback, and he does like to target DJ Chark. He has a relationship with DJ Chark, and there is some upside, but only if you're looking at a potential DraftKings play is where I look at DJ Chark. I would not rely on him going forward, especially against a very tough Buffalo defense. Now, maybe the tune changes going forward here. We have Chris Godwin up next. He only had 3 targets, 2 receptions for 25 yards against a really good matchup against Minnesota. Now they have Atlanta, Detroit coming up. He got those pins out of his hand last week, and I think that may have had an impact on how much Tom Brady was going to target him. I am trusting Chris Godwin going forward. If you've made the playoffs, I would definitely trust him against Atlanta. It should be a get-right game. Although the Buccaneers are now pretty much in the playoffs, of a 98% chance of being in the playoffs, I'm still going to trust Chris Godwin going forward and figure that out. He's still the number 1 target for Tom Brady. Things are looking good for Chris Godwin. Now, Terry McLaurin is another wide receiver that I'm talking about. And he had 6 targets, 2 receptions for 24 yards. The Washington football team tweeted ahead of time that Terry McLaurin is in for a bounce back game and to start him. Now, that did not come to fruition, but he has Seattle and Carolina going forward. If you've made it this far with Terry McLaurin, you have to start him. His only 2 bust games are the last 2 weeks. Despite that, he's pretty much been a locked and loaded wide receiver every single game, I guess except for the LA Rams matchup. But the 2 next one are very plus matchups. We're not sure if it's going to be Alex Smith or Dwayne Haskins. Either way, I think Dwayne Haskins has been targeting Terry quite a bit and did last year as well. So either way, I'm happy. You got to go with Terry McLaurin going forward in your matchups. Tyler Lockett is an interesting case. Tyler Lockett's a guy that it's been really tough to trust him. Lately, he hasn't had a good week since Arizona, and before that, it was, I guess, his only good matchups since week 3 have been against Arizona. Unfortunately, he doesn't play Arizona the next 2 weeks. They've got Washington and the LA Rams going forward. It's not looking good for Tyler Lockett. He's probably going to drop in our rankings going forward. Make sure to tune in to our live stream, and we will let you know about our rankings and how we have Tyler Lockett projected this week. But he's not a locked and loaded starter every week anymore. DK Metcalf is the number 1 wide receiver in that offense, and even guys like David Moore is getting targets. And with these matchups going forward, with the Seahawks looking pretty good to be in the playoffs, it's going to be a heavy run game with Chris Carson and company. So Tyler Lockett is no longer a number 1, and he's not going to be an auto start. So temper your expectations for Tyler. He's still a very good flex play if you have that liberty to do that, but you might need to pivot. Maybe a guy like T.Y. Hilton that's been on fire. Maybe looking at other players. I have a couple guys that broke out this week, not broke out, but Russell Gage had a big game. Even Emmanuel Sanders had a big game. Those guys aren't ones that I'm going to trust going forward. It will depend on other factors. Maybe if Drew Brees comes back for the Saints, and maybe if Julio remains to be out for the Falcons. Thanks a lot, guys. Make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel if you like our content. And thanks a lot. We will see you next time.